All right, so let me introduce myself for anyone who may not be aware. My name is Brittany Gibson, and I am a therapist here with Care to Change. I am an LCSW, which stands for a licensed clinical social worker. And I've been practicing in the field of therapy for about the last 8 years or so. Worked a lot with different variety of diagnoses and situations, and I've really enjoyed my time here with Care to Change. And so today what I wanted to talk about was grief, kind of related to what we're experiencing right now with COVID-19. Right now, a lot of us are feeling a lot of different emotions. Some we may be able to identify, some we may not be able to. And so right now, we've kind of experienced a lot of loss, a lot of functional loss. We may not be able to be going to our jobs anymore. We may have to be staying at home. We could also be experiencing a lot of functional loss, and maybe we've lost our jobs. And so we've had to kind of redefine what our life looks like right now at home. And so a lot of times what we can be having is called unacknowledged or unrecognizable or disenfranchised grief, which these are losses that are hidden and we may not be aware that we've experienced these things, or society or people in our life may not have acknowledged these things to us. And so a lot of times we may not be realizing that we're grieving ourselves. And so I think we're having a lot of time right now where we're spending a lot of time at home and we're having a lot of time to think. And sometimes during times like these really challenging times, things can get triggered and reemerge that we may have had in our past that may not have been dealt with, or could be more along the lines of, that unacknowledged grief. And so these things could be popping up into our lives without us even realizing, or we might be noticing some other types of symptoms going on in our life too. And so I talked a little bit about functional loss, but right now we're also having a lot of loss in relationships, having to be at home a lot. We're not able to be with our friends and our families. And so kind of we're mourning that loss and that change too in our lives. And then I think in general, we're having a lot of systemic loss where this world that we know and that we were comfortable in and comfortable kind of working in has really changed. And that's been a really hard change of, having to get out of the norm that we're used to and putting into kind of the abnormal. And so those all can be losses that maybe we didn't realize were losses, or maybe we did, and now we're just kind of recognizing them in ourselves. Right now, we can be having a lot of anticipatory grief. Right now we may not know when things are going to return to normal or to a semi-normal that we're used to. We feel grief and anticipation of what could happen. Especially with right now, we don't know what could happen. There's a lot of unknowns, which can bring a lot of anxiety too, especially if we're more on the lines of a planner and we're used to having a structured schedule. Right now, we don't have that. And so there's a lot of anticipation and a lot of anticipation grief of what could come. There's a lot of fears related to becoming sick, the uncertainty about when life will return to normal and what that normal could look like. It may not look how we think it's going to look. And so we feel that loss of what was, what we were used to, of what our normal routines were. And then we worry about kind of what the future holds. We're anticipating longer losses, longer quarantine, or, we're anticipating changes, which leaves a lot of feeling out of control, of feeling like we don't know what to do next, of feeling like our routine is broken. And those are all really difficult things to cope with and can lead to a lot of struggles. Also, the longer this goes on, we can have a lot of cumulative grief where things kind of compound, especially if we're in the phases of mourning what was, what our life looked like, and then something else happens. Those things just kind of accumulate on top of each other. And, you know, the longer this goes on, we might experience more cumulative grief. You know, especially if we are having to reschedule vacations, or, you know, not being able to see our family during this time, birthdays, anniversaries, all those things that we would normally kind of be out celebrating and we're at home can really create a very cumulative effect where we just kind of feel this weight on us or feel it in our bodies. We feel a lot of those changes in a more cumulative way. And then the last type of grief I think we can really be experiencing right now is as a society. We have a very collective grief right now. You know, we're all kind of in this together. We've talked about all, you know, trying to be united in this way, and we're all experiencing these same things together. And so as a world, we are collectively grieving. It can be a collection of, you know, society, families, all of us at once are kind of grieving the loss of our norm, of these challenges that we've struggled. And so I think that's why we're also seeing a lot of people trying to kind of change that. You know, you see, you know, people kind of gathering together, social distancing at the hospitals, you know, waving to first responders, trying to get that sense of community back, you know, doing this as a whole collectively. And so right now, I think it's really important to be acknowledging in yourselves and in your family units with your friends, if you are experiencing any type of grief related to the losses that we've had recently. Acknowledging them in yourself can be a good first step in just realizing, yeah, I'm struggling with not having my norm. I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm depressed. You know, I want these things back, and I'm trying to redefine what that looks like in my life. And so, you know, we go through kind of a timeline, a process of grief, and that can look different for everybody. You know, there's no hard, fast timetable for grief, and it looks different for everybody. There's different types of grievers too. And so really trying to explore within yourself what that grief is looking like for you. And that can be, you know, we have intuitive grievers, which they experience those really strong emotional reactions where, you know, we might feel a lot of emotions, we might, you know, cry, we might mirror other people's feelings. We express our feelings in a very outward way. Instrumental grievers, we tend to do things internally. We tend to maybe withdraw a little bit, really spend a lot of time processing in our minds and internally. And so that can be a hard thing to see if people are grieving internally. There's also a lot of things of blended grievers where maybe we do a little bit of both. We internally process, but then we also might, you know, cry and feel like we need to let out a lot of the things that we're experiencing in our bodies and let those things out in a very outward way. So again, the grieving timeline right now, it can look different for everybody. The grief, we can have some symptoms that may let us know that we're grieving. You know, maybe we're a little bit more irritable than we're used to. Maybe our lack of focus, you know, not having structure. It's real easy to kind of stay in bed all day, which could also look like grief too. Maybe you're experiencing a lot of roller coaster of emotions, or feeling more sad than you normally would. Like I said, irritability, withdrawn, not wanting to be social or not wanting to talk to friends, you know, not communicating with your family or your partners. Those all can be symptoms of grief. And so the type of loss can impact the timetable of grief. And so we really need to just watch for change in frequency, intensity, and duration. Maybe you're just having a really hard day, or if those days start to become, more common, those hard days, or the weeks start to kind of blend together for you, you lose track of time or the days, that might let us know that maybe we are kind of grieving a little bit more than we originally thought we were. This time might be a little bit harder than we thought it would be. And so there's a lot of things that we can do as far as trying to grieve during this time, but also trying to kind of move forward and not feeling like we're stuck in this time. And one thing that can be really helpful is putting a mental boundary around this time, kind of like a container. Like, we're going to contain this time period, and we're going to leave it here knowing that it's not going to go on forever. Even though there's a lot of uncertainty, there will be a beginning, a middle, and an end to this crisis, and we will get through it. And we can use this time to do a lot of self-reflection so that on the other end, we can come out more resilient, more strong, more self-aware. And so really picturing yourself like, I'm going to take this boundary or this fence and kind of put it around the August or the beginning of March until whenever this ends. It's that time period in my life when, we were going through this crisis all together. As much as you can, maintain some sort of daily routine. And maybe that looks a little bit different than you're used to. And so just, getting up in the morning, creating structure to your day can really help you move through the grieving process. Create a safe and order home, create a place where you're able to feel safe, where you're able to be creative in your environment, where you're able to be yourself can be very helpful. Like I said, having some type of schedule. Don't let this time kind of make you feel dark, put you in a corner, make you feel hopeless, trying to get control of what you can. Maintain relationships as much as you can with others, using things like Zoom, that's become very popular, FaceTime, Instagram, telephoning, text, reaching out to people during this time. I think the fact that we're home, a lot of our coping skills have been taken away. We teach, going out, going for a walk, going for a run, going out and seeing your friends in a restaurant. That's kind of taken from us. So we have to adapt. We can do Zoom conferences or talk to our friends on a Saturday night. You can play cards with your friends now online through Zoom. There's been a lot of resources that have been put out there to try to be able to reach out to other people during this time. And so really trying to push yourself to kind of do that and being able to see your friends just in a different way. Looking at silver linings right now, whether that be, I do have more time. I always wished I wasn't as busy as I was a few months ago. And now I've got more time. What am I going to do with that time? Am I going to get some projects done? Am I going to spend more time with my family, my kids, my significant other? Am I going to work on myself? What can I reflect on? Am I going to grow closer to God during this time? What can I use this time for constructively? Making sure you're eating and getting a lot of sleep and exercising. I think a lot of people are using this time to try out new recipes and cooking more, doing dinner dates at home, playing games, meditating and mindfulness and, just kind of creating a sense of calm and peace. Watching uplifting videos, maintaining a positive attitude as much as you can. And I think bottom line, you can't be perfect in this. No one prepared us for this. And so we're all kind of getting through this together. Do what you can, and then forgive yourself for if you feel like you're not doing what you should be doing. Really giving yourself grace, giving yourself forgiveness. We're all slipping during this time. We're all trying to navigate what a new normal looks like for ourselves, for our families, for our jobs. And so when you give yourself a lot of grace and forgiveness, that can help you along the grieving process too. and just acknowledging it with yourself that, okay, maybe today wasn't as good as I had planned. You know what? I'm going to go to bed, and tomorrow's a new day, and I'm going to work through it that way. And so those are a lot of good things that we can do to try to help ourselves through this grief, through this time, and get through this time as a whole. Remember that we are here for you. We want to help you through this time and help you cope and help you process and help you kind of get back a new normal. If you feel like you're struggling, you can reach out to us, help@caretochange.org. We've got people here who are ready to be able to, be with you and aside with you to get through this. And know that we are all in this together, and we will get through this, and we will be coming out stronger and more resilient. And so if anybody has any questions,